I'm going to show you a picture of my band from the 1980s. So this is the band I was in when I learned all this stuff, and this is not going to go well. But I'm going to show you a picture. Here we go. I already found it. How was that? I didn't expect to be that. All right, and let me go share my screen.
So if you are listening to the audio version of this podcast, remember that it's a fully fledged video version over on YouTube, and you can just head over there and you'll see that picture. Right.
You'll see me in my 1980s, and you will see my wife, who is the singer. She's my wife of 35 years this year, and she has big hair. Big 1980s massive hair. It weighed 45 pounds just on its own. Big hair. Oh, wow. And I had all my cool stuff. I had my gloves with the fingers cut out. I had my skinny tie, you know. So in that band, I was keyboard player. So I was playing keyboards back then. Because if you were in the 1980s and you had keyboards, you worked all the time. Because everything was keyboard synthy based back then.
Yeah,
like it is now.
No difference there. You probably had more work in the 80s as a drummer than you had consequently in the 90s, but that's a different thing.
And you know what I gave up? I was a drummer first, so that's where I started and went through school. And in college, I switched from drums to keyboards because I was tired of being in the back of the room. I was always in the back. Like there's all these pictures of our band playing, and you can't even see me. Like I'm always covered up. It's kind of an ongoing joke with my old band from school because we still play. We still do our high school reunions. But yeah, I was always like buried way back in the back. And, I was born to be 4 feet in front of myself. I've got to get up closer.
And I've seen you now play guitar and sing in your band, is that right?
I do. Now I'm not the lead singer. So my wife is an unbelievable singer, like ridiculous, like seriously incredible range. Like we never ever found what the top of her range was. She could sing anybody, Mariah Carey, whatever it was. She nails. She's a great singer. And I sang backup, and I know the songs I can sing lead on, So I was probably good for 6 or 7 songs a night, but I was never going to be the only guy singing, It's like. But, I can sing harmony and, I find the songs that I can do. And you know what else is weird? Don't tell anybody. This is weird, but I'm actually a really good rapper.
Oh, wow.
But this is back before everybody rapped. Like everybody raps now. But back in the day, I could really, like you'd walk in the club and you would not know. You'd be like, I can't believe that's you. I would hear it all the time. People would stop me and go, I can't believe that was you up there rapping. Like, I know. So listen to this. I went on a cruise ship like a couple of years ago, and it was this really nice, high-end cruise ship. It was with my brother and with a friend who invited me, and they had a karaoke night. And so I went up for karaoke night, and they let you pick songs, right? And so I picked "Funky Cold Medina" by Tone Loc. Now, It's a nice cruise. I'm in a suit, right? And I got a tie and a white shirt. I look very like me. And I got up there and I knew I'm like, I can rap. Nobody knows this is my secret superpower. I get up there. I tore that ship down. I was a celebrity for the rest of the cruise. People would be stopping me like, dude, you're the rap guy. Nobody saw it coming. Nobody. That's my superpower.
Well, tell you what, next one we meet, I'll bring some beats, and then.
Yeah. Drop a beat. I'm there, dude.
But as
I can rhyme. I can rhyme on demand, but
that's really hard.
Covers. Yeah, it's a stupid superpower, and it's completely useless in real life. However, it is that one thing I don't tell anybody: secret rapper.
You also, as a rapper, you clearly need a rapping name. So do you have a rapper name like I'm Hippopotamus or Rhinoceros or something?
No, I'm plain white rapper.
Oh, plain white rapper. Cool.
Yeah, like you put something in a plain white wrapper.
Oh yeah,
that's like a WRAPPER, but I'm all right. It's
plain white rapper.
I also thought of using Lil Hungry. because I'm always a little hungry. So Lil Hungry is my other rap name.
That's great. Yeah, you definitely need a rap name, 100%.
Yeah, it's either plain white rapper or Lil Hungry.
So here's a challenge for you. Next year at the photography show, I'd like to see you teach a class in rap the whole way through.
Look, you got to be born with it, man. It's got to be. It's in here. It's in here. If you want it to come out here, it's got to be in here. Well, this thing's really gone off the rails. This podcast is totally. It's so far away from photography at this point. I'm not even sure it's a photography podcast.
I think that's the USB of this podcast. Very often, you consider yourselves lucky if we even scratch the topic of photography sometimes. No,
I don't have a camera in here. I have no camera gear in this room. It's all music. I got nothing.
See, isn't that interesting though? Because I've had this type of conversation with a number of guests in the past, and I find this really interesting that particularly in photography, it does seem to be the case that a lot of photographers that I've spoken to also somehow have a connection or a deep connection with music, whether they're musicians themselves. A lot of the time, that's true. I can't even count the number of people who are really excellent musicians. Frank Doorhoff, for example.
Frank smokes, man.
Yeah, he's killer. We did say that we're gonna have to do an episode where we only talk about guitars. This will be an extra episode.
Oh, yeah. All right. So you know what I did? I did a cool thing a few years ago. Actually, this was kind of cool because what you're saying is so true. How many photographers are also musicians? So I did a series of portraits of photographers who are musicians, and I did them backstage at a concert. So I set up a rig. And I did it intentionally so you could see road cases and gear. And then you could also see the light stands and the soft boxes, right? I did the whole thing and shot it where you could see the backdrop. You could see the edges of everything. So it would mix music and photography together. And so it looks like a behind the scenes shot, and I called it sessions, like a recording session or a photography session. And I did all these portraits of all these great musicians that were, great photographers, famous photographers who are also, musicians. And it's funny, one of the guys that I did, Drew Gurian, who used to be Joe McNally's full-time assistant, he's gone on to be a famous entertainment photographer. Like, he's huge here in the States, and he's a drummer. And I got a great picture of him backstage. I did them all as duotones. I did them all as black and white and then duotones where he's holding a cymbal. So he's holding the cymbal. And I would show you if I could share screen, but I have a really nice portrait of him. And I have all these different music, but there's so many photographers who are great musicians in their own right. And in fact, at Photoshop World, we were doing them live before COVID. We used to have a jam session, and we would bring up all these instructors like Frank Doerr. That's where I learned Frank could smoke on guitar. I had no idea. And Frank smokes.
Frank's great.
And all these. And like Mark Heaps is a great bass player and guitar player, and Rob Foldy, who is quite a famous sports photographer who I met shooting an NFL game on the sidelines, and wound up being the team photographer for the Atlanta Falcons and for all these big teams in America. He's out on tour playing drums right now with a big country star. He sends me these pictures. He's playing these giant arenas, and he's got all these behind the scenes shots and stuff. And yeah, it's a really neat how people that are creative are not just always creative in one vein, right? They're creative in photography and it just seems like such a natural thing for a musician, to be a photographer and vice versa. And look at Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney just had an exhibition in London of his photographic work, and one of my buddies bought me a book on it. He bought me a book. My buddy Kelly got me this book of Paul's photography, and it's tremendous. He has pictures, like he chronicled the Beatles in their 1964 trip to America, and his photos they're stunning. It's really, really good stuff.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip, then press here for the full episode in glorious Technicolor. Hey, and don't forget to subscribe.